Welcome to Ask a Lawyer with Christopher J. Zachar at the Zachar Law Firm in Phoenix, Arizona. Chris is a state bar certified specialist in personal injury and wrongful death cases. Fighting for clients' rights and compensation is his passion. Attorney Zachar answers your questions about the law and how it affects you.
Chris, what constitutes a slip and fall injury?
Well, Steve, a slip and fall injury is, and it's pretty self-explanatory. When you slip and fall, or it could be a trip and fall, and sustain injury on somebody else's property.
So how do I know if I should take legal action?
That's a really good question. You not being knowledgeable or educated with respect to the law in slip and fall or trip and fall injuries, you don't really know whether you actually have a cause of action or you can take legal action. In these circumstances, they're pretty detailed and they're pretty specific. You really need to meet or talk to an experienced personal injury attorney, somebody who actually does trip and fall, slip and fall type cases. That's really the only way you're going to know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let me ask you this, Chris. What are the normal causes for slip and fall accidents?
A slip and fall accident is typically caused by a dangerous condition, which is a foreign substance which is on the ground on somebody else's property, some sort of wet, slippery type substance which is not supposed to be there. It is there for one reason or another, and then obviously causes a person to slip and fall and sustain an injury. On a trip and fall, again, it all starts with a dangerous condition that he's either not supposed to be there, or if it's a part of the premises, maybe it's something that should be identified, should be warned or safeguarded against, which the owner of the premises fails to do that, and you trip and fall and sustain an injury.
Well, okay, but I don't want to sue my friend, but my medical bills are piling up. What do I do? Good
question. And we answer this question on a regular basis. For the very most part, if not exclusively, any claim which is made for these types of injuries is going to be paid for by insurance. I mean, if you think about it, that's why your friend has insurance. Your friend has insurance to protect them financially should something like this occur. And so naturally, I would think a friend would be more interested in protecting another friend who sustains an injury than a stranger who they don't even know. But the dichotomy is, in Arizona, if a lawsuit were to have to be filed, you actually have to name your friend or your friend's business in the complaint, but the effect is the same. Their insurance company picks up the defense. Their insurance company is going to pay anything. Your friend is never going to suffer any sort of financial fallout as a result of it. That's why they have insurance. So I hear the question all the time. It really should not be a major concern because insurance is going to be the vehicle which pays for the damages anyway, in almost every case.
So is the owner of the property always at fault?
Well, no, they're not, and that is kind of a myth with respect to these slip and fall and trip and fall, or what are called premises liability claims. Just because you suffer an injury on somebody else's property does not make them automatically at fault. That's not the way the law works. The law is premised upon some degree of wrongdoing, and a person can generally only be at fault for injuries that another sustains if there is some wrongdoing. So with respect to a premises liability type case, and that's what we're talking about, slips and falls and trips and falls, premises liability, you need three main things. First of all, you need to have a dangerous condition. That's where it starts. Second of all, the owner has to have some notice of the dangerous condition before the incident occurs. And that notice can be they actually knew about it and didn't do anything about it, or in the exercise of reasonable care, being the owner of that property, they should have known about it. Either of those two circumstances constitute notice to an owner, and if those first two circumstances exist, a dangerous condition and notice, and you suffer injuries, under that circumstance, the owner of a property can be liable for the harm caused.
So what are some of the immediate steps I should take after a slip and fall accident?
Well, first and foremost, if you have the mindset and the wherewithal, pulling out your cell phone and snapping a few pictures of exactly what caused your fall would be step number one. If you're not able to do that, and perhaps you're with somebody, maybe having that person take a few pictures of what you fell on. Second of all, whose ever property you fell on, if possible, if it's in a store, something like that, you want to report it to the store and to management before you leave the store. They should take an incident report. They should take down all the information, but you want to do that. Third, with respect to the reporting, pay particular attention as to any statements or comments that are made by store personnel. What does the manager say? What does the employee say? Any indication that maybe they knew about the circumstance beforehand and just didn't have the opportunity to quite get over and clean it up. That could be a really important fact. Lastly, is you want to seek medical attention for your injuries at the earliest possible time. I think those 4 steps pretty much cover what should be done immediately following a slip and fall or a trip and fall on somebody else's property.
So how much is my case worth?
Good question. Another one I hear all the time. Can't even take a swing at that one. All cases have their own set of facts. All cases have their own circumstances. The value of all cases really depend primarily on the same 4 factors. The amount of medical expenses that a person ultimately incurs by the time they're done treating, and then the nature, the extent, and the duration of the injury. Nature, what type of injury is it? Extent, how bad is it? Duration, how long does it last? Do you need a month of healing time? Do you need 6 months worth of physical therapy? Do you need surgery and you've got a permanent injury? We could discuss various circumstances, but as a general question, how much is my case worth? I wouldn't even be able to guess, absent knowing more about the particular facts and time having passed and knowing much more about the injury.
Anything else we should know?
Premises liability cases, these slip and falls and trip and falls, they can be pretty difficult cases. And they're very, very fact specific. And I'll tell you flat out, most attorneys in Arizona won't even take a premises liability case. They just think they're too difficult. We're not that way. As a matter of fact, premises liability cases are one of the types of cases I happen to love the most. I just get them. I just understand them. I can see them. I get them. But again, they are very fact specific. So being able to document the scene with pictures if you can, making sure you report it, paying particular attention to anything that's said by store personnel, and then appropriate follow-up for your injuries. Those are real key factors in ultimately determining whether there's going to be a valid premises liability case or not.
Thanks for listening to Ask a Lawyer with Christopher J. Zachar at the Zachar Law Firm in Phoenix, Arizona. Join us next time as Chris answers your questions about the law and how it affects you.